Welcome back to another academic year. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are excited to be back with you to support the class of 2025 through the Alabama Goes to College campaign. We can't believe it's already the 2024-25 school year. If we haven't previously spoken verbally or electronically, I am Yoruba Butler, and I serve as the strategy director for post-secondary access at Alabama Possible. And I will be leading today's professional development webinar. In this kickoff webinar, we're going to give a high-level overview of the Alabama Goes to College campaign and all the ways it can support your students as they pursue post-secondary pathways. We'd like to recognize and thank our sponsors for supporting this work and making this webinar possible. Without their support, Alabama Possible would not be able to provide the assistance that we do without a participation fee. The Alabama Goes to College campaign works closely with several partners to implement the initiatives that we're going to discuss today. Thank you to our great partners, Alabama Commission on Higher Education, Alabama Community College System, Alabama State Department of Education, and Get Educated, the Common Black College application that helps promote applying and enrolling students at 65 historically Black colleges and universities. So, who are we? When engaging with the Alabama Goes to College campaign, you will be communicating mostly with May Whiting, our data and research director, or myself. We are only two individuals out of a staff of 5 colleagues. The rest of the team includes our fearless leader and executive director, Chandra Scott, Manisha Mishra, our deputy director, and Anando Banerjee, our strategy director for post-secondary success. We're a small but mighty team. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. Please keep your microphones on mute at all times to avoid any feedback during the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and posted to YouTube/Alabama Possible should you want to revisit any of this content. You can submit questions throughout the webinar using the chat feature. We will collect these questions and answer them towards the end of the presentation. In addition, we have poll questions throughout the webinar, which are designed to get your real-time feedback. We would love it if everyone would participate with these poll questions. But this is especially important if you are a high school educator who will need to participate, and you will need to participate in all of these questions to receive your professional development credit. It is imperative that you stay through the end of the webinar because there will be poll questions at the very end as well. The questions are super quick and won't take up much of your time. We hope this lessens the burden of having to complete a separate survey form after the webinar. A few more things before we dive into the content. Please share your commitment to building a college-going culture on social media at AL Goes to College and Alabama Achieves. And please use the following hashtags so that we can all see and learn from each other's work. Now, we're going to deploy 2 poll questions to get an understanding of who is here. Our first question is, what is your role? May, if you would deploy those now and let us know about the results.
Absolutely. So I want to take a quick moment to reintroduce myself. I know Yoruba already mentioned it, but my name is May Whiting, and I am the Data and Research Director. I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll now so that we can get your responses. But I also just wanted to speak a little bit to folks who might be new to our campaign, give you a little background about what we do throughout the year. You'll primarily be seeing me in Yoruba. And what we do throughout the year, you'll almost every single week be receiving a newsletter from us trying to give you timely updates. That comes from Yoruba, who puts a lot of work into that. We receive great updates from our national partners and our statewide partners. So stay tuned for that email. If you know your school's registered for the campaign and you haven't received one of our newsletters that come out every Wednesday morning, be sure to send us a message or send us an email. We also have several professional development webinars like this throughout the academic year. So you'll see one of us during those. And then something that we'll talk about later on down the line is our help desk that educators can call, students and families can call. Yoruba and I will be answering your questions there, whether it's a phone call or a text message. So we just wanted you to get familiar with us, know what we're available to do to support you throughout the academic year, and really wanted to encourage you to utilize us as much as possible. So I'm going to move on to the next question, which is coming onto your screen now. But what topic are you most interested in? So we kind of have some standard webinars that we host every single year, but we love to add new topics to our lineup throughout the academic year, and we do that based on the feedback you provide us. So we are always trying to listen to what you want as educators and who you want to hear from. So this is really good information for us. And just to speak more about how we utilize the feedback y'all give us, every webinar will have polls like this to hear from you. But then we also have several initiatives throughout the year where we're contacting you and talking to you one-on-one for more in-depth feedback. So if you receive a call from us throughout the year, we know y'all are very busy people, so we're not going to take too much of your time, but we love learning about what it is that y'all think your school might benefit from, especially as it relates to our campaign. So I have almost all the responses here. We have 26% with career pathways, 34% FAFSA, 29% scholarships. Those are our three biggest categories based on the responses. So thank you so much for answering these. I'm going to close out that poll. And then just remember, the polls at the end of the webinar are the ones that matter for your PD credit. So I'm going to turn it back over to Yoruba.
Thank you, May, so much. And now, if you've logged on a little bit late, we want to make sure you're able to register your school for the Alabama Goes to College campaign. High schools can sign up at alabamapossible.org/register 2024-25. We'll drop this link in the chat now. On the registration form, all the schools are listed alphabetically. So there is a way for you to check if your school is already registered or not. We only need one submission per school. Now, let's look at our learning objectives. Today, we're hoping that by the end of the webinar, that we'll be able to deepen your familiarity with the Alabama Goes to College campaign and its components, give a brief topic of the Educator's Toolkit, and identify new strategy and assets you will be able to increase. So you will be able to increase your college and career initiatives and promote post-secondary pathways to your students. Now, there are three components of the Alabama Goes to College campaign. First, Cash for College. The Cash for College's goal is for every graduating senior to complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, before they graduate from high school so that they can access federal, state, and institutional aid to pay for their education after high school. Though we will not be speaking about the FAFSA in depth today, we did want to share that we have been informed that it will open to the general public on December 1st of 2024. If we receive any additional information, we will share it with you as soon as it is received. Second is the Alabama College Application Week. The Alabama College Application Campaign is part of a national effort to increase the number of first-generation college students and students from low-income families pursuing a college degree or higher education credential. The primary purpose of this effort is to help high school seniors navigate the complex college application and admissions process to ensure they apply to at least one post-secondary institution. Third is College and Career Decision Day. College and Career Decision Day celebrates students committing to pursuing their education past high school, whether to obtain a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, a certificate or industry recognized credential, entering the military, or pursuing a skilled trade. Now, let's explore Cash for College a bit more. Cash for College builds awareness around the financial aid for post secondary education. The goal of Cash for College is for every graduating senior to complete their FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, before they graduate from high school, so they can access federal, state, and institutional aid to pay for college. We prioritize completing the FAFSA because it strongly correlates with positive post secondary outcomes, including increases in college enrollment, persistence, and attainment. Research shows that 92% of students who complete the FAFSA enroll in college the following fall, compared to just 51% of FAFSA non completers. As many of you know, every senior in Alabama should either be completing the FAFSA or an opt out waiver as part of their graduating checklist. We highly encourage every senior who is eligible to complete the application to do so, whether or not they think their income is too high. There are several reasons for this. The FAFSA is not just to determine need based federal aid. Most institutions or private scholarship organizations require FAFSAs to be submitted to determine scholarship awards as well. So, regardless of a student's family income, they should be completing the FAFSA. Even though the FAFSA does not open until December, you are still able to assist your students in creating their FSA ID, which is the username and password that students and their contributors create to access their FAFSA form. Now, there are some students who are not eligible to complete the FAFSA form. This mostly applies to undocumented students who have no protected status. For these students who are ineligible for federal aid, they have the option of completing an opt-out waiver for their graduation requirement. We know you all did an exceptional job promoting the FAFSA during the last academic year. Alabama is ranked 16th in the nation for overall FAFSA completion. Now let's talk about some of the key resources for this component. The AIC FAFSA completion portal is a platform hosted by the Alabama Commission on Higher Education. If you are a high school educator, this platform is going to be your best friend after the FAFSA cycle begins. Once you have login credentials to the platform, you can track student level FAFSA completion progress. This is updated regularly. So it's a great way for monitoring who needs to do what as related to the FAFSA. We've linked the portal here as well as a guide we created to help you navigate the portal. We know getting timely and accurate data through the portal was a challenge last year, but we have been told by our national partners that the system for processing FAFSA and creating ICERs, which are institutional student information records, will be up and running when the FAFSA opens. So we shouldn't experience terrible delays with the AIC portal this year. We also included FAFSA.gov and the FSA Toolkit. These web pages include information along with great flyers and one-pagers, outlining the process and steps. Remember, everything pertaining to the FAFSA is continually updated. As resources are released, we will make certain to update them in our shareable drive. Let's talk about some key dates for our component. In order to be eligible for our end of year Cash for College awards, please register your school for the Alabama Goes to College campaign by October 1st. The FAFSA opens December 1st, 2024, so please remind the students that their FAFSA should be completed every year that they're enrolled in college. And this year, February 1st will be our tentatively set deadline for Alabama schools to complete for the Best Hustle Award for improving early FAFSA completion. This is awarded to schools who have at least a 10% improvement in FAFSA completion when comparing the first 2 months of the FAFSA cycle to the first 2 months of last year's FAFSA cycle. So we will be comparing FAFSA completion in December and January of this school year to January and February of last school year. Lastly, May 1st will be our deadline for Alabama schools to compete for the Most Improved and MVP awards, which come with a grant prize. The Most Improved Award is given to schools with the highest year-to-year improvement rate for FAFSA completion. Last year, we put a pause on this award since the FAFSA cycle was so severely delayed, and it was hard to expect improvement during such a challenging cycle. But we're hoping to bring back the award this year. Our MVP award is given to schools with the highest overall FAFSA completion percentages. Remember, to be eligible for these awards, you must register for the Alabama Goes to College campaign by October 1st. These awards come with a monetary grant to support your future efforts in post-secondary planning. The second component is the Alabama College Application Week. The Alabama College Application Campaign's goal is to ensure high schoolers apply to at least one post-secondary institution by assisting and encouraging them as they navigate the complex college application and admissions process. The Alabama College Application Campaign encourages all high school students to apply to college early in their senior year. The initiative includes a full week of application fee waivers at many colleges in the state and bordering states. This effort is part of a national campaign, and the Alabama State Department of Education leads this work in the state of Alabama. In terms of resources, we have a site coordinator manual, which will also be included on our shared drive. It will be your main guide for everything related to this component. The National Campaign's webpage also has a lot of great information and resources. Some key dates for the Alabama College Application Week are fast approaching. Friday, September 20th is the Why Apply Day, and this day is where you as educators can wear your college gear and share why you believe students should apply to college. There are a lot of creative activities that you can implement at school on that day. We'll be talking more about this and sending correspondence in the upcoming weeks. As stated earlier, October 7th through the 11th is the Alabama College Application Week. Again, this is a full week with colleges in and around Alabama where they waive application fees for our Alabama seniors. We are excited to announce we already have 41 colleges and universities committed to participating thus far. Be on the lookout for more information in the Alabama Goes to College newsletter. The goal of College and Career Decision Day is to celebrate our students committing to pursuing education and training after high school. Lots of resources come with Reach Higher and Better Make Room. Reach Higher started as an initiative of former First Lady Michelle Obama and focuses on counselors supporting students in their goals of completing education past high school. Reach Higher then launched Better Make Room, which is a student facing campaign that includes events like College Signing Day. College and Career Decision Day events take place on or around May 1st. We will spend some more time talking about this component in the second half of the year. As for our Educators Toolkit, we will be hosting more detailed webinars prior to each of the big events related to our three campaign components. In those webinars, we will highlight the tools and resources that are available to you. You, of course, are more than welcome to start perusing the toolkit on your own now. As each campaign component gets closer, we'll also be releasing bite-sized videos with ideas of how to use various resources in the toolkit. That way, if you're unable to attend our webinars, you can get access and quick instructions on using these tools. This is based on feedback we received from you all at the end of last year. Now, new versions of our Educator's Handbook and Student and Family Guides will be available the first week of September. Those will be in our general assets folder, and we'll also make sure to send them in our newsletter. These are great resources for educators who are new to our campaign. In these resources, you will dive a bit deeper into our campaign components. Now, tips for our community partners. We understand that we have covered a lot of information. So I want to wrap up with a few tips to guide you through the next few months. We spend a lot of time addressing educators, but we also want to recognize the wonderful community partners we have on Zoom with us today. We know that a lot of community-based organizations and post-secondary institutions are key partners in this work. We encourage you all to connect with new counselors and career coaches in your service area. These relationships are very important. We also encourage you all to send us your upcoming events so you can promote them on our social media and in our newsletter. You can send those to algoestocollege@alabamapossible.org. For our post-secondary institutions, you all always do a wonderful job of providing your insight and expertise at admissions and financial aid workshops on high school campuses. And for our community-based organizations, if you are supporting high school seniors, we encourage you to attend our FAFSA training with hopes it will empower you with the tools to volunteer and support high schools and their workshops. Though this date has not been released as of yet, we will definitely keep you informed. It's also great for you to offer your community space as a site for college planning activities. Before moving forward, let's see if we have any questions in the chat. May, do you see any on your end?
We had several that we have already addressed in the chat, but I think it's worth just saying out loud in case folks are on the phone and haven't been able to see the chat. But we got a question about how folks can access the links in our presentation. We do send out a follow-up email to all of our registrants, and in that email, we'll have a PDF of the slides. And on that PDF, you'll be able to click the links that you saw Yoruba go through. We had one question about the AIC portal. So in general, the AIC portal is pulling student data directly from PowerSchool on a regular basis. So it's updating whatever is the most current data for your class of 2025. However, there are some schools who don't use PowerSchool, or in this case, this person was using PowerSchool, but for some reason their data is not syncing. Some schools will have to provide student records to AIC so that they're able to make the match with what they're getting from federal student aid. So if you're a private school or if you're an alternative school, you might need to follow up with AIC to see what the procedure is for that. It should be detailed in the guide that Yoruba mentioned. So on our Google Drive, we have a portal guide that kind of answers some common questions. So that should be addressed there. But anytime you're having any issues with the portal, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be a liaison with AIC, or you can reach out to AIC directly. Um, so one person noted college application week is during their fall break. What have other schools done in the past that have been in this same situation? So I think for the most part, we were really encouraged that the week got moved up. A lot of people have found that an earlier date will be great for catching those students who are already eager to apply in September and early October. I know it has fallen on schools' fall break where they've been out of school for a couple days out of the week. I don't know that I've heard about any schools that have been out the entire week. Dr. Mack, is this something that you could speak to at all?
I can. Thanks, May. We tried to work around that this year. That's one reason we moved it up because there were so many schools having testing or fall break the following week. So unfortunately, it's hard to catch everyone, but I would suggest just send the information out to your students, give them clear directives, and they can work on that information on their own.
Absolutely. So we'll get you the necessary information right before the week so that you can turn that over to your students. And really, the main thing is knowing the colleges and universities that are participating. So we have that preliminary list right now. We'll continue to add institutions to that list so students can know if I'm interested in one of these schools, I'll plan on applying to that school during October 7th through 11th. So just having that planning ahead of time, I think will be big for schools who might be on break during this.
May, can I make one more comment? Someone asked about September. As we talk with the colleges about the app week, they prefer October. Some colleges, their application is free all the time, but for those that charge, they preferred October because some do different things and we didn't want to interfere with what they had planned. So October was the best month for our colleges.
There's a lot of coordinating that goes into this a week. Dr. Mack and her team are doing a lot to ensure that institutions participate. So we hope that y'all are able to find some way to support your students even while y'all are on break. We had a comment from Charlotte in the chat that said we partnered with a nonprofit who sponsored ours during fall break. So hopefully that's another good idea that y'all could use as well. Let me see. I see one more question. Someone asked, can career coaches have login access to the AIC portal? And absolutely, yes. Essentially, just to give a very brief description, we'll definitely talk about this in more detail later on throughout the academic year. But each district has what's called an LAM, or a local access manager. That local access manager can create logins for any relevant employee of the district. So that definitely includes career coaches. It can really be anyone who's supporting FAFSA completion efforts in the district. So if you need access, feel free to follow up with us via email and we'll ensure that you're able to get that. I think those are all our questions, Yoruba.
All right, May, thank you so much. I also want to bring some upcoming events to your attention. On Wednesday, September 4th, we will be hosting our Exploring Career Pathways webinar at 10:30 a.m. Our Alabama College Application Campaign webinar will be on Wednesday, September 11th at 10:30 a.m. And lastly, the Why Apply to College with the American College Application Campaign will be on Friday, September 20th. Now we're going to ask a few more poll questions that will give us feedback on today's presentation. We encourage everyone to participate, but high school educators especially need to participate to receive their professional development credit. Your answers to these questions will not be shared with anyone.
So you should have that already launched on your screen now. Just a heads up, there are 2 sets of questions. So right now you see the first set, which is comprised of 2 questions. Once everyone completes these, we will have a second set of questions. So be sure to hang on for the second set. We know some of y'all have obligations and have to go, but we really do count professional development credit for those who stay through both sets of questions. So I'll allow about 30 more seconds to respond to these. And I see your comment in the chat, so I will follow up with you for getting your responses to these. I'm sorry about that. Would you let me know if you're on a desktop or a phone? Okay, are you using a dual monitor by chance? Sometimes when you're on a dual monitor, the poll questions will be kicked to the other screen and they might not be obvious. They might not be front and center on your other screen. Gotcha. Okay, thanks for that feedback. And I also see, okay, I think it's just one person having trouble with it. All right, so I'm going to end this poll now. Thank you for those responses. And then one more set of questions. You should see that launched on your screen now. And there are 3 questions in this set. And then just so everyone knows, it's the beginning of the year, so it's good to remind everyone. But as we're going through attendance for each webinar, we check to see if you attended most of the webinar. So we know sometimes folks have to step out a little bit early, but the majority of the duration of the webinar. And then we also check for these poll responses. And then we'll have more information on the next slide. But for our public high school educators, you'll need to register in PowerSchool so that your information is being pulled in there and then matched with the attendance and poll question responses on our end. So be sure to register in PowerSchool when you get that link in our follow-up email. All right, I have pretty much everyone responded, so I'm going to end this poll now.
All right. Thank you for your feedback, educators. And as May stated, to claim your professional development credit, you must register by visiting the link and entering the following course number and section numbers. The course number is 322173, and the section number is 510247. We will make sure to share this information again in the follow-up email. If you do not register using the website, you will not receive professional development credit. And before we close, we'd like to mention, as mentioned earlier, we do have a help desk that educators, students, and families can call or text. You can reach us at 334-316-6155 on weekdays during business hours. And let me repeat that number to you again, even though it will be in the PowerPoint. It's 334-316-6155. And feel free to send families our way. We've been here assisting students all throughout the summer. So again, just thank you so much for continuing to send families and students because we're able to text them and also call them from that number. And
Rube, I think we had a question to go back to the course and section number. So even though y'all will get it in the follow-up email, I know some of you are eager to go ahead and get registered. So I'm just going to display this on screen really quickly.
Okay, and in case you want to write that down, the course number is 322173, and the section number is 510247.
Perfect. Thank you, Rube.
No problem. And because we know this is the beginning of the year and you all are so exceptionally busy, we're going to go ahead and give you a couple minutes during this hour back, but we did want to always say we love to stay connected. You all can always find us at alabamagoestocollege.org or email us at algoestocollege@alabamapossible.org. You will always be receiving newsletters from us with important content about the campaign, to include upcoming professional development webinars like this one, scholarship information for your students, the most current information regarding the 2025-26 FAFSA, and other information. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you all have a wonderful academic year, and we'll definitely stay in touch. So please feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we thank you so much for joining us.